when we really need it. I see that some of our other colleagues have joined us here on the floor, and I want to welcome Congressman Paul Tonka of the great state of New York, who is such an outstanding and really relentless voice on job creation, economic recovery in our country, for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Representative Kaptur, and thank you so much for kicking us off on a wonderful hour of discussion as to a plan to revitalize our economy and to grow the opportunities for our working families across this country. President Obama has ushered forward a wonderful package called the American Jobs Program that will enable us as an American society to respond to the crises for jobs and the crises for economic recovery, all of which are incredibly valuable to the future of this country. We need to invest, I believe, in a way that allows us to provide for the tools that are essential for a modern-day economy and modern-day manufacturing. This proposal stands in sharp contrast to the work done a decade ago. What was done then was this spending frenzy that paid for tax cuts for millionaires and paid for tax cuts for billionaires and fought wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and offered a pharmaceutical plan for the Medicare program, all without having a payment mechanism. And so this spending frenzy, which was tremendous, it was a huge bill for the American public, had been done off budget and had no funding sources. There were no pay-fors as they're addressed today. The contrast here with the President's proposal, with President Obama's proposal, is that there's an offering for relief for America's working families, for her middle-class strata, with a payroll tax payroll tax reduction extension. And that enables both employers and employees to realize a savings that then allows us to put together a balanced approach on assisting the economic revitalization of our working families and middle class, and on providing the investments that are essential in going forward, automating our manufacturing concepts, in providing an inducement of an ideas economy into the equation of success for this country. That all requires investment. And so as we look at this plan that is very balanced and paid for, we know that we can compete in that global market if we're given the appropriate revenues to invest in a modern manufacturing concept. Now, keep in mind, certain sectors were totally avoided by the Bush administration. No focus on agriculture, no focus on manufacturing, a focus on the service sector of the economy, but they're narrowly on the financial services. We all know the saga there. We know the scenario all too well. That avoidance of a watchdog, turning our back so that there could be this laissez-faire approach, brought America's economy to its knees. And we saw the displacement of 8.2 million jobs. That was painful and impacted people in tremendously profound measure. And people lost their lifetime savings through those failures. Housing values went down, they plummeted. And again, 8.2 million jobs were lost. And so we have an opportunity here, Representative Kaptur, as you talked about an extension of the payroll tax holiday. We have an opportunity here to not only provide for savings for our families, but for investments in a modern world manufacturing model that enables us to, again, utilize the strength of research, the strength of technology, the strength of ideas that can then bridge us into a new threshold of manufacturing opportunities in this nation. And then, of course, the investment in the human infrastructure, where we train and retrain workers for that automated phase that comes in manufacturing. So I thank you for bringing the focus tonight on the floor of the House of Representatives to what we call in our caucus a progressive agenda for revitalizing the economy and emphasizing, underscoring the concept of making it in the USA, making it in America, putting a focus again onto the manufacturing base. I represent a host of communities dubbed mill towns. They were the economic engine for an industrial revolution. They were the epicenters of invention and innovation that led to this westward movement that enabled us to impact not only the growth of this nation in favorable measure, but to impact the quality of life of peoples around the world simply by our spirit of pioneer, which is within our DNA, to make a difference in the product delivery, in the quality of life that's addressed by that product line. And I'm filled with optimism. I'm filled with optimism if we move to go forward in a way that invests in the American worker, invests in the American business, small business, and invests in our ingenuity and our innovation. So thank you so much for the discussion.
You know, Congressman Tonka, I want to thank you so much for coming to the floor tonight to again express your deep and abiding passion for jobs in our country. And I wanted to follow on something you've said. This is actually a chart that shows our trade deficit with China. I'm probably like your community. Our community is just loaded with goods that are coming in here from China. And if we just look back at the last decade, the enormous rise in those goods on our shelves, when you really put the math of it on a chart, it looks like an avalanche. It is just crowding all this money in 2010, over $273 billion of hard-earned American money was actually used to purchase Chinese goods, and that money then went back to not the United States, but to China. And you think about the displacement of production in this country for everything from tableware to sometimes food products now. And I had an experience over the weekend because I like to work with small businesses, and I ran into a woman who was blending coffee. She's called a master roaster. And her product is called Bees Blends, B-E-A-S, Bees Blends from Toledo, Ohio. And she was asking me, I want to expand my company, but I need a very small loan, and I don't want to go into debt, and oh gosh, what should I do next? And I told her I would try to put her in touch with the Small Business Administration. But it was really, when you said the optimism that you have, I'm meeting companies all the time that are inventing new products, incidentally very good products, and trying to counter this trend of more imports versus our exports. And her product is a product that can be sold locally, it can be sold interstate, and ultimately it can be sold internationally because it's vacuum packed. And I was thinking about the creativity of this individual American trying to make it in a very tough economy, and then a couple days later I was over at a coffee shop in Lakewood, Ohio, and I happened to tell the owner of that shop, also a woman, that I had met this master roaster, and she said to me, well, you know, Congresswoman, it's interesting you should say that. I'm trying to bring together all these master roasters across the coast. I said, gosh, we have coastal roasters or roaster coastals, or but the point was people were thinking, they were creative, they were bringing something new to the market, beautifully labeled, an excellent product, and trying to counter these trends. And because small business is located in our communities, it's interesting to look at the last several years as well that conforms to the rise of Chinese imports and other imports into our country, and look at the distribution of income of people in our country. And what's happening is what the American people obviously know, which is why we need to maintain the payroll tax holiday and to make those in the top 1% pay their fair share. The divergence between people who are in the lower income spectrum and the upper has just exploded. It is just before those who had much and those who had just enough and those who had little were not so far apart. But the gap has just widened to a level where the American people know something is fundamentally wrong, and that the ship of state is very out of balance, and that somehow we have to begin to make sure that all boats are lifted in this society and not just some boats get lifted. And we know that job creation, business growth, business startups, business expansion of American-made products are essential. Products that can be exported, that can help to close the trade gap, but also then begin to narrow the income gap that we see as we allow more income to be earned by those who are in the middle class and who are in some of the categories of income where they're stretching just to make it every day, every week, to put enough food on the table. This is really almost un-American. This looks more like an old stratified society from times past that were very, very undemocratic, that were places where we wouldn't want to live, the kind of places that our relatives fled because they couldn't get enough to eat, because they didn't have a chance to earn a fair day's wage. So we're joined this evening by Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee from the great state of Texas, such a hard-working and able member who is such a voice for citizens across our country and our world every day. And we thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Congresswoman Kaptur, thank you for allowing me to join you and to join the distinguished gentleman from New York. We are on the floor often, but it is very special to come as I listen to you discuss the issues of not only Make It in America, but something that you have been on. In fact, we have known Ohio over the years to be the center point of manufacturing, the center point of production of what we call the raw materials, overlapping with our friends in the Midwest on steel production. And we call Ohio just the true salt of the earth and the underpinnings of America's economy. Again, they are very fortunate to have a member such as Marcia Kaptur, who has never stepped away from the morality and the moral compass of allowing members to work and constituents to work, rather, and to fight for them having the opportunity to work and to create opportunities and jobs and manufacture in Ohio. We thank you. Joined, of course, by Mr. Tonka, who has never wavered from assisting his constituents, particularly facing the hurricane that we had. I want to join you and pick up the populist chord, if I can. The President went to I guess he listened to us, listened to you, and went to Kansas and went to the place where Teddy Roosevelt, the man with the big stick, I think we need a little big stick around here. I don't believe in violence, but if I might just get one quote in that I really like: this country succeeds when everyone gets a fair shot, when everyone does their fair share, when everyone plays by the same rules. This is what we've been speaking about. This is what our public has been asking us. This is what the coffee maker or the small business has been asking for. Give us an even playing field. And so I just wanted to briefly speak as I participate in this special order on one or 2 points, and that is these go hand in hand. We know that there are people who are unemployed. We know that there are working people that will benefit from the extension of the payroll tax cut. And we also know that we have great respect for our colleagues, but that we have not been tending to the people's business for the last 3 weeks. We've been passing legislation that have been job killers. We could have had a reasonable discussion on how we get to a point. I don't mind doing things in a bipartisan way. I've never seen you reject bipartisanship. I've never seen Mr. Tonka reject bipartisanship. I've never seen Mr. Grimaldi do so. He's here on the floor of the House. We are eager to move this country forward. And I'm going to give the other body a compliment, because I know they were stuck on the plan of the payroll tax, but I kind of like the idea of a 1.9% surtax applied in 2013, not even in 2012, to millionaires over a 10-year period. An additional $38.1 billion will be generated by increasing fees on mortgage lenders paid to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and those may have to be reviewed by this body, but it is seeking a way to ensure that everyone gets a piece. Let me tell you what the response is. The hostage-taking comes when one senator of our friends on the other side, in the other body, a Republican senator, says, okay, we don't want the Bush tax cuts to ever expire. That's their response. So I just want to say to my colleagues, the olive branch has been extended. If we do not do this, I will tell you that we'll be risking The GOP will be risking 160 million Americans will not be protected and will be subjected to this massive, if you will, tax increase. If we do it, we'll give 160 million Americans relief. 300,000 people making more than $1 million a year will give a little bit of sacrifice to give a fair shot, a Teddy Roosevelt fair shot to the American people, $1,000 to $1,500. Let me just speak very briefly about this unemployment circumstance here. 6 million Americans lost their jobs, and I want to speak just briefly. I want to show this picture of a happy family. You've got manufacturing. I've got the Houston port. We've got stevedores. And obviously when the international economy slows down, what happens to the guys who load and unload ships? My guy that's in this family that's in need, he's been off work for a month or 2 months. He's got these beautiful children and a wife. They've got some medical problems. He's had to have surgery. These are the kinds of people that we're castigating. The salt of the earth in Ohio that had jobs in the manufacturing and were laid off or they were slowed down. This headline says, illness budget cuts fails to diminish families' good cheer. But they are the recipients of charitable aid here in Houston, Texas. And you see their 3 lovely children. If this gentleman does not get unemployment, if, for example, he continues to be laid off, then we're talking about a family that not is on the public assistance. We're talking about a family that, in fact, worked, which is what unemployment insurance is, car insurance, fire insurance. They worked, and they've come upon hard times. New Yorkers worked, and they've come upon hard times. Californians worked, and they've come upon hard times, and those in Ohio. So I would just, in the spirit of bipartisanship, to my good friends, find a way to repay the American workers who have come upon hard times, the children who have watched their parents get up every day and work. And so here's where my swan song, and so that a gentleman can be yielded to. Here's my swan song on this point. I wanted to show this picture because I have been plagued over the weekend by the words of one of our national figures who indicated that poor children have no role models, no one in the poor communities ever go to work, no one watches who happens to be poor, any family member get up and go to work unless they're doing illegal activities. So a solution is we watch the janitors in the schools. Let's make sure those poor children, pluck them out of the pre-K and first grade and sixth grade, let them do the janitorial work of an adult who is providing for his family. In my day, janitorial work, sanitation department, that was good hard work for individuals who were providing for their families, and maybe they educated a whole generation of children by being a janitor or someone that was housekeeping or someone that was cleaning facilities or office buildings. We're not suggesting that these individuals are not looking for greater aspirations. Maybe somebody went and got a GED or went to a community college. But to suggest that poor children in Appalachia, where Robert Kennedy went and said he saw the worst poverty he'd ever seen, or in places of inner city Houston or rural America, don't have role models because they're impoverished and the only thing that they're able to see is illegal activity, is an insult to the American spirit and is a reflection on what we have come to in this body when we can't give to the working class, this wonderful family that is on the front pages of our paper, indicating that they're only in this predicament, they only can't see Daddy go to work because he is a stevedore without work and then getting back surgery. So compounded, not because they are poor and in a family where nobody gets up and goes to work. We've got to do better than this. We've got to take the Teddy Roosevelt spirit. I'm glad the President was in Kansas and has taken on this kind of hard talk in order to provide for the working families
Would
of
the
America.
gentlelady
I'd be
yield
happy
for a
to
moment? I want to thank you so much for bringing this family's plight to light here in the Congress on behalf of all of America's families who are suffering at this holiday season. And isn't it an indictment on the legislative branch of this country at the national level that when people need unemployment benefits, we have to run out the clock right to the bitter end, right to the bitter end for benefits that have been earned. In church on Sunday, a couple came up to me, and the husband asked, Congresswoman, if you hear of any other jobs, please let me know. What's going to happen with unemployment benefits? This was a family that obviously needed help, a family that had spent their entire life, the man and wife both working. And he didn't want to ask about the unemployment benefits, but he knew that for that family, maybe it was all that would be there in the near term. And I'll give you a couple figures I'd like to put on the record this evening. One, I called the head of one of our major railroads the other day because I was trying to get the word out across my region, not everybody's plugged into the internet, that there were 4,000 jobs that CSX was offering around the country, and I wanted to make sure that people in our region knew that they were available. And the chief executive officer, excuse me, of the company said, well, you know, we've had 500,000 applications for 4,000 jobs.
Wow.
Right? The American people want to work. It is not that they do not want to work, as some of our friends on the other side infer. No, no, they're looking every day. They're just not finding the jobs that existed in past generations, and we know that those jobs have been displaced by imports from places like China. And company after company that used to be located in our neighborhoods aren't there anymore. So it's harder to find jobs. We have to create new jobs, but the new ones aren't coming on stream fast enough. The level of desire to work in our country is so much higher. Millions more people want to work than there are jobs available right now. And so for many families, unemployment insurance is all that's left for them. And again, this Congress is just waiting to the bitter moment rather than acting responsibly to help families who've literally built this country and who have a very good work ethic and want to work. So I wanted to thank her, thank the gentlelady from Texas, Ms. Jackson Lee, for bringing this subject up and putting a human face on what this unemployment really looks like out in the country. And if anyone has any doubt, come to Ohio. Come meet these families who want to work and are looking every day. And of course now you know the way it works. You can't go into a company. They tell you, well, we might have 100 jobs, but apply to us through the internet. And it's like you go into this faceless system where you can't really find a real human being. They're trying. They're trying out there in the country, and all the economic figures show us. And the last thing I will say here for this segment, Mark Zandi from Moody's has classified every single expenditure that one can make that gives the economy more than $1 for every dollar expended. And would you believe that if one looks at things like unemployment insurance and payments to the unemployed, that produces the biggest bang to the economy? Well over $1.35 for every dollar invested, as opposed to, let's say, tax credits or something like that, these arcane tax provisions, where less than 30 cents is actually reinvested in the economy. So unemployment insurance extensions also make sense for economic growth at this very tender time, because the people who receive those benefits spend them on essentials that drive the economy. I yield back to the gentlelady.
Well, I just want to put two numbers. I want to follow up and just put two more numbers on the record as you did. If we don't, you made a very valid point that here we are at the last minute. You would think that we would be sensitive enough to know that families are gathering, families want to have a holiday for the children. They're trying to be the Santa that they know that the children believe in. They're trying to make preparation. Families are trying to find ways to be with loved ones. It may be gasoline that they may need to drive a car. If we don't do this unemployment insurance, we are poised, unlike if we did it and we get bang for our buck, to lose 200,000 jobs. Compound that with not extending the payroll tax cut, and we'd lose 400,000 jobs. That is almost 600,000 jobs. And I finish by saying the tragedy of your point about China, and I want to make it very clear that we love all people. We wish the best for the people of China. It is the policies, the currencies, but not only do we have this in the backdrop, we have to fix our own house so that we're not building a bridge in California that has drawn steel and workers and designers and accountants from way across the ocean in China. We've got to get our house in order. And so 600,000 payroll tax cut extension doesn't go forward. We're losing 400,000 jobs, and unemployment insurance doesn't go forward. We're losing 200,000 jobs. Is this the way to welcome the most sacred for many faiths and many families season of the year of giving, where we teach our children to give? Is this what we should be doing to the American people? And is this what we should be doing to our soldiers who will be coming home by the end of December? I think not. And so I thank the gentlelady for allowing me to share these thoughts. I'm only looking forward to getting our house in order and getting our holiday house in order and reflecting on the needs of the American people and not special interests.
I want to thank the gentlelady for those very profound comments tonight, and just place on the record that just in our church last weekend, the priest informed us that compared to last year, he was asking for people to dig deeper because the number of baskets and the number of asks was up well over 125. I think just for our church, it's over 360 now for this year. For a small congregation, that's a bit of a struggle. And that's just one place. That's just one corner in America, repeated in 50 states, in every hamlet. And I appreciate what the gentlelady said about the spirit of this particular season of light and of giving, and that the people who are out of work have earned these benefits. They're not asking for any handout. They're asking for the insurance that they earned as a condition of work in order to help have a Merry Christmas and a Happy Hanukkah and very Eid greeting season. They're not asking for anything that they haven't earned. So I thank the gentlelady for coming down tonight, and our leader, Congressman John Garamendi of California, is with us tonight. We thank him so much for reserving this special order and for the incredible leadership that he has exhibited each and every week that we have been in session, and just a powerful and sustaining voice on making it in America and creating jobs here.
You've gone too far. Thank you so very, very much for picking up. Tonight's a very special night for California. We lit the holiday tree in front of the state capitol. It was a tree that came from a community very close to where I was raised in California, and I was out there with the choir from Somerville High School in Tuolumne County, an area that I represented for some 20 years, and then other around the area. Beautiful, beautiful tree from the Stanislaus National Forest in California. You know, there really is much to celebrate and much to be concerned about in America. We are still a very great country. We're the strongest, most wealthy place on this earth. And we have incredible opportunity and potential. I saw it in those kids that were singing in front of this nation's capital this evening. And yet there's so much pain, as was pointed out by our colleague from Houston, and you earlier. Americans care about each other. They deeply are concerned about what's going on in our communities, and they want solutions to the problem. And that's our task. There's 435 of us here, and over in the Senate another 100, and of course the President. And it's our task to find the solutions. And the President has put forth a very powerful program called the American Jobs Act. One piece of it has fortunately passed, and it was passed just a few days after Veterans Day, when I guess we were out at the parades and we made promises to take care of the veterans. And fortunately, a piece of legislation did pass, only one part of the American Jobs Act. There's much more to do, and my colleagues, Ms. Capter and our gentlelady from Houston, were talking about a piece of it. But the veterans piece provides employers a very powerful incentive to hire a veteran. A very, very powerful incentive. You can reduce your taxes by $2,600 to hire a veteran that's been unemployed. A long-term unemployed veteran, $5,600 reduction in your taxes. And in addition to that, the President proposed that if it is a veteran who is disabled as a result of their service, $9,600 reduction in taxes. That's right off the tax line. So we got to get the message out to employers. Hire. Put people back to work. The veterans, it's one of the elements that the President proposed in his American Jobs Act. And you were so powerfully putting forward just a moment ago the issue of the payroll tax deduction. It's going to end. There will be a tax increase for every American who is earning up to $106,000. A tax increase, average $1,500 across this nation. We want to keep that tax reduction in place. We Democrats do not want a tax increase on the working middle class. No. But again, as was pointed out just a moment ago, our Republican friends are saying, well, that's a good idea, but where are you going to get the money? You can't get the money from those whose income, annual income, is more than $1 million. $1 million a year annual income. You can't tax them. That's not fair to tax those people. They're the job creators. Baloney. They're not the job creators any more than any other small business in the community who doesn't even come close to having an annual income of $1 million. So let's be fair about this. They've had an enormous tax break over the last decade. It's time for them to come forward and to share in the burden of America, to put Americans back to work. You know, the American Jobs Act work. Let me now turn to my colleague from, well, Ms. Capter, you're running this operation, so please have at it.
I'm going to yield the time to you, Congressman Garamendi, but I did want to say for the listening audience that this is a coast-to-coast operation. I'm looking at you from California, Congressman Tonka from New York, Congresswoman Jackson Lee from Texas, and myself from the Heartland. That's a pretty broad variety of opinion from across our country, from very significant states.
Well, my colleague from the great state of New York, picking up the East-West program once again.
Well, Representative Garamendi, thank you again for bringing us together with this request for a special order. Representative Capter could just take us back to that second chart that she shared with us earlier this evening, and the measurement or the depiction of real average after-tax income. Now, you talk about the unfairness out there or the inability to go forward and tax fairly. Well, you look at that demographic, or you look at that graphic, I should say, and to see the injustice that's displayed just in simple line graph format, that flat lining of America's middle class from 1979 forward, that flat lining contrasted with that steep climb upward for those in the upper income brackets tells the whole story. And, you know, people have said across this country, when I go home to the district, people say to me they're concerned. They're upset. You know, they've been taught, rightfully so, and they've learned along the way that if you play fair, you roll up your sleeves and you abide by the rules, that you should be able to have within your grasp that American dream, the American dream, one that allows for working families to climb the ladder. They don't feel that that's within their grasp today. And it's not only the injustice here that is measured on a chart, And be mindful, they don't reject the notion of working hard and scoring big, making money. They're not concerned about that. They honor that. What they're concerned about is the undue influence that the powerful have, those sitting perched high on the income ladder, the power they have with the process and the policy outcomes. And the fact that we would avoid fairness in revenues and not invest in the American dream, not invest in opportunity, not invest for the prosperity of this nation is what bothers them. They don't want to be ignored that way. They want to know that a process out there, this government working to create policy that initiates a comeback, that enables people to have within their grasp the American dream, that's what they want to know is alive and well here in Washington. And now it's a fight. It's a fight for the Democrats in this House to score a victory for the middle class. We want that victory. We want people to be able to know that there's a fairness out there. Look at it. $1,800, $1,500, whatever your strata would produce as a favorable outcome is something for them. Month to month they'll score some victory here where the essentials, as Representative Kaptur labeled them, are available to them with these savings. Contrasted with opportunities that we see here that find this group that's rising to the top exponentially just won't share the prosperity in that way. And I think it's the avoidance of sound progressive policy that's really the struggle right now. And people are expressing their anger and their frustration, and rightfully so, because we need to be more fair.
If I might just interrupt you, Mr. Tonko, you mentioned sound progressive policies. We've all been back home over the Thanksgiving, and I've talked to a couple of those people that are on that blue line way up there, and they're willing to pay a little more for fairness. But I also have heard from some who say, well, we can't do anything until you control Medicare. And what do they recommend in Medicare? They recommend extending the age from 65 to 67. And I'm going, well, what sense does that make when you consider that when Medicare started in 1964, 51% of those men and women over 65 had no health insurance. Today, virtually everyone over 65 has health insurance. It's Medicare. It is one of the solid bedrock programs that keeps people, seniors, from falling into poverty. Back in 1964, 30% of the seniors were in poverty. Without Medicare, they'd be in poverty again today. And yet, our Republican colleagues want to terminate Medicare. Literally turn Medicare over to the private insurance companies who I know as a previous insurance commissioner will not provide a reasonably priced policy or benefit to somebody who's 65, because those are the people that get sick. Similarly, they have said repeatedly since 1930s they want to terminate Social Security. We hear that. We hear the background buzz around this building. They want to terminate Social Security. These are the programs that give American seniors the dignity and the opportunity not only to live a good life, but to even live, to stay alive.
Well, let me just talk about a point of clarification, too, to add to that discussion. On this whole tax fairness, people have approached me. They said, now, explain to me, because they hear different scenarios. They were imagining that there would be this tax, this surcharge on 1.2 million. For instance, if you're over that 1 million threshold and you're making an annual, you have an annual income of $1.2 million, the people are now reminded that it's on that 200,000 over and above the first 1 million upon which the surcharge is levied. You know, that's an important fact that is sometimes lost in the discussion. So now people are saying, well, wait a minute. So the first million isn't touched.
Same tax rate.
Right.
Doesn't change at all.
Right. And so they're saying, oh, whoa, we've been flatlined for so long, and this exponential rise for the highest in the income ladder outcome?
The surcharge is only on the amount over $1 million.
So now there's more determination by America's middle-class families to have it fixed and done correctly. And the other thing is, I'm reminded every time I go home by middle-class Americans modest household incomes, that we're job creators. My children needed my attention at home. I opened a child care in my home. I charge. I have a small business. Many small business people tell me, as an idea came to mind, they now wanted to turn that into a product. They're small business owners. They're the engine. They're connected to the community. They're tethered to the small community.
Can I interrupt for just a second? The American Jobs Act, which we're trying to push through this Congress to get men and women back to work, provides a tax reduction for the employer.
Exactly.
On wages less than $50 million. So for your child care provider, for the small business person, the carpenter out there in the small business, they also get a 50% reduction in their payroll tax. So instead of 6.2, it goes to 3.1. So this isn't just for the wage earner. This is also for the business person.
Exactly, and the employer.
So why don't they support this?
You know, this is a statement of underpinning of support for middle class, for working families, for small business. You know, it's the engine that's making it happen. Small business, the investment we can make, not only the tax cut we can provide here, but the investments that are required for the ideas to move along. We're in a challenging time. We're there competing in a global economy. We invest in the intellectual capacity of this nation, and how foolish of us not to take that investment, that product of that investment, and put it into working order. That's what we're asking for here. Give small business the tools, give working class families the opportunity, and we will have a comeback story that is glorious. And we should be filled with optimism if we do the things that are so logical and that polls across America, individual polls from all sectors, all angles, all different groups that measure, they're saying this is what America wants. And how come they can't get it delivered by their government? They're speaking to us loud and clear through their opinion surveys. We want this progressive schedule. We want this agenda. Make it happen. We're trying here as a Democratic caucus in the House of Representatives, Representative Capter, to make it happen, and I think we can. If we put our minds to working together in a very, very bipartisan, bicameral way, executive branch working with the legislative branch, vice versa, and making a progressive agenda happen.
If the gentleman would just yield, I'd like to add that I agree with you completely. Every small business that I walk into tells me, Marcy, bring me customers. Customers are a function of having spendable income. There are no more important decisions we could make as a country right now, as we finish the month of December, than to make sure that middle-class families have spendable income by not raising their taxes. Middle-class families who've been holding the line here without real additional spending power over the last decade. And to make sure that we extend unemployment benefits to those who've earned those benefits, because that has the maximum bang inside the economy when people spend those dollars on basics, on essentials. Those are two practical decisions from an economic standpoint no rational human being would disagree with. And they contribute to economic growth. They contribute to keeping us on an upward path as we move forward here in our country after coming out of this deep, deep, deep recession. I yield to the gentleman from California.
Fascinating piece of information came across my desk today, and it has to do with the Affordable Health Care Act, which our Republicans like to call Obamacare. Hey guys, it's working. It's working. You just talked about spendable income. Let's see here. 2.65 million seniors, because of the Affordable Health Care Act, had an average of $569 additional in their pocket as a result of the discount drug benefit program. Wow, it was incredible. It actually is the 50% discount on brand name drugs saved $1.5 billion for 2,650,000 seniors. Saved $1.5 billion, an average of $569 per senior. It's working. It's working. And also, very interesting, these kind of statistics come across, and normally we ignore them, but the annual wellness program, 1,931,927 seniors were able to take advantage of the annual wellness program that is in the Affordable Health Care Act. 24,175,608 seniors took advantage of the free service program in the Affordable Health Care Act. So when folks are out there and they're putting down Obamacare, be careful. It's not a negative. It's a very, very strong positive. And you'll like this one, Ms. Captor. Hang on a second. Ohio. 864,243 seniors took advantage of the Affordable Care, and 50,178 seniors in Ohio took advantage of the discount, the drug discount. It's working. That's exciting. This is legislation that we passed. It's actually helping the seniors and the economy by putting money back in their pockets rather than in the pockets of the pharmaceutical companies.
And you know, if I could say, Congressman Garamendi, with those seniors, I know the first place they're going to spend those extra dollars after they pay for food will be on their grandchildren. And all I hope is that they don't buy Chinese toys this Christmas. I hope they find a way to buy little outfits that are made at your local craft fair, or they find ways to find candy that's made by a local firm. They find ways to spend those dollars wisely, because if we do that, if we spend every dollar as wisely as we can, we really lift the economy of this country, and we put those dollars back into businesses that actually are conducting business on our shores.
Excuse me for getting back into this, but Mr. Tonko gave me that look. What about New York? What about New York? 1,410,533 New York seniors were able to get free medical services, and 127,691 were able to take advantage of the 50% drug discount. Good for you. You voted for that act. I voted for that act, and I even talked about California.
Absolutely.
Should I?
Well, you should share it for your home state.
Yes. 1,962,809 seniors in California are able to get free medical services, and 139,396 were able to take advantage of the 50% drug discount. $569 average savings for seniors. It's working. The Affordable Health Care Program is working for seniors, and it's putting money back into our economy to grow this economy.
I was just going to say to the judge very quickly, so that sounds to me very life-giving, Congressman Garamendi. It doesn't sound like there are death panels. It doesn't sound like anything like some of the opponents were saying when that bill was first passed. In fact, seniors have a greater chance to live now because they can get the medicine they need and they can get the checkups they need. And to me, that's very life-affirming.
We also know that there are, I don't know the exact number, I think it's about 20-some million young men and women aged 21 to 26 are now back onto health insurance, their parents' health insurance, as a result of this law. We'll pick up that statistic as soon as I get my hands on it, but I think that's the number, over 20 million.
Well, you know, so many of these programs, including the long-standing Medicare program, are looked at sometimes in dollars and cents and argued about how they're improved or not improved, but sometimes lost in the whole discussion is the value added, the whole underpinning of support that is offered the senior community. Prior to the inception of Medicare, in 1965, families that retired were probably going to see their economic well-being dip precipitously. And what they had here with the Medicare Foundation was that their economic stability, their dignity factor, was addressed in tremendously strong and powerful ways, so that they were able to move forward in those retirement years with that sense of dignity, with the quality of life, with economic stability. These are facts that need to be maintained in the front of any discussion, that to undo Medicare would be a tragedy for American families, for our seniors. And certainly, let's go forward, as we have said, with optimism. Let's invest in Medicare, let's invest in Social Security, and let's invest in an economic recovery where we cut where we can, belt-tighten, but invest where we must so we can compete effectively. And to my colleagues on the floor here tonight, Representative Captor, Representative Garamendi, I join with you in being a powerful voice, in promoting optimism as we go forward and wanting to have progressive change.
I thank you so very much, and Marcy Kaptur, thank you for grabbing the microphone early on. I was down with that Christmas tree and the lighting ceremony from California. Got here just in time to pick up a couple of these issues. We know we can put men and women back to work. We have the tools. The question is whether this House has the will to do so and not increase our deficit. We can actually do this and not increase the deficit, take people that are not paying taxes now, put them back to work. The Affordable Health Care Act is working, and we know that we can continue the unemployment benefits, and there's a way of paying for it. You show it there on that. The super wealthy, it's time for them to pick up their fair share. Thank you so very much for this wonderful evening and telling the story of the prosperous America that we can have once again. This is America. This is a great country. We have it within our power to get back on our feet and to charge forward, and we really appreciate all that you're doing to make that happen in the great Midwest and in New York and in Houston. Thank you so very much.
And I really have enjoyed sharing this hour with Congressman Tonka of New York and Congressman Garamendi of California, speaking out for 100%, the 99% that are often forgotten, the 1% that we don't forget, but know that your patriotism really will come to shine in this holiday season, and to urge our colleagues in the House and Senate to do what's right, to make the decisions on extending the payroll tax holiday for the middle class, making sure we extend unemployment benefits, which are earned benefits, and that we stand up for all of America because we're all in this together. And I thank my colleagues very much, and the listening audience and those who are out there helping us to move the ship of state in a direction so that we create jobs in this country and we keep this economy on an upward roll.
And here's
thank you so very much.
It's for the 99%.
For the 99%
and 100% of Americans moving forward.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much, and we yield back our remaining time.
Thank you. Thank you for yielding back your time. The Chair would be pleased to entertain a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move the House adjourn.
The question is on the motion to adjourn. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Accordingly, the House stands adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow for morning hour debate.
Today in the House, members started work on a bill to require